Hey. Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles. And our topic is how do we learn to plan for our happiness that actually works, that's guaranteed to work. So the focus is on how do I make sure that I'll focus my attention on the plan for my happiness that will actually, in the long term, actually work. And so we're going to talk about that. Only the universe's plan for your happiness will work. Only the Creator's plan for your happiness will work. Only the right plan for your happiness will work. So that's our topic today, is peace and happiness, and how do you follow the plan that will work, that will actually be guaranteed to work. That's the one I want. Would you like to have the plan for your happiness that actually works, and not only actually works, it works permanently? That's the one I want. I want the plan for happiness that I can count on. Do you all want a plan for happiness that you can count on?
Yeah.
Okay, because unless we establish why we're here, it won't make any sense to be here. You'll be wondering, why am I not at home somewhere else? So the Course in Miracles teaches that the first thing you need to do in any situation is remind yourself why you're in it and what you expect to get out of it. So we're going to start out with our theme song that allows me to remember that I am not a victim of the situation that I am in. I'm not a victim of the relationships that I'm in. I'm not a victim of the job that I'm in. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Of the world I see, I'm not a victim. Say what? Of the world I see, I'm not a victim. No, 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 no. Of the world I see. Oh, it looks like it sometimes. I'm not a victim of the mall. I'm not a victim of my fault. I'm not a victim of events, circumstance at all. I'm not a victim. Not a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim of the world I see, cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. That includes what? The good stuff. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that seems to get my... I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me, including the good stuff. Say what? I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. No, no. Does it sometimes look like it, though? Does it sometimes look like we're a victim? Does it sometimes look like somebody's doing something to us? Absolutely, it can look like it. But have you ever had a situation in your life where things were not the way it seemed? Anybody ever had that experience where you thought it was one thing and you found out later you were totally wrong about the whole thing? How many times do you think this happened that you've been wrong and never realized it? Right, but isn't it interesting that sometimes the temptation is to think that we've only been wrong when we've discovered it? Yeah. And then the Course says, well, I'm going to give you a real easy way to judge when you're wrong. Would you like that? It's wherever you're unhappy, upset, angry, having grievances. That's where you're wrong. Well, that means I'm wrong most of the day. Especially some days I'm wrong all day long, according to that criteria right there.
All night.
Right, and all night, don't you forget, So we're going to do lesson 71. We're going to continue. We're going to complete lesson 71. I got some loaner copies. It's easier to stay focused in on the course if you follow along in the book. I guarantee you that it's very easy with the Course in Miracles to go unconscious. So for some people, it's their favorite nap time. Because it's hard to pay attention to something that I don't think is going to make a difference. It's easy to go unconscious on something that I don't really think is really going to make things better for me. Because if I really thought it was going to make things better for me and I wanted things to be better for me, would I focus in on what I'm hearing? If I thought it was going to give me what I really wanted and I really want it, would I focus in?
Yes.
Okay, so quick review, because we're going to start off with paragraph 5 on page 121 in the Blue Book in the Course in Miracles workbook. The lesson is only God's plan for salvation will work, which is the same as saying only love's plan for our happiness will work. Only the plan that comes from the truth is going to work. Quick review. There are two plans that everybody in the world are using in order to be happy. There's not the two plans, even though it seems like there's a lot of different plans. Actually, there's only two plans that's being used by every one of you and everyone outside of this class. That's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Here's the plan. If somebody else changed, if some event or circumstance outside of me changed, then I will be happy. If my mother changed, I'd be happy. If my mate spoke differently, I'd be happy. If my boss spoke differently and acted differently, I would be happy. If my relatives acted differently, I would be happy. If the Democrats were different, I'd be happy. If the Republicans were different, I'd be happy. If the independents were different, I'd be happy. If white folk were different, I'd be happy. Well, that's true. That's the wrong plan. I'm using the wrong plan. I'm using the wrong plan with y'all. I'm sorry, okay? The wrong plan. And probably three of y'all using the wrong plan toward me. If black folk was different, I'd be happy. And if all the other races were different in some kind of way, I would be happy. If I had lost weight, I would be happy. If I could travel around the world, I would be happy. Is anybody seeing a trend here? Right? How many of you know you use that plan? Thank you. Right. How do you know when you're using that plan? I'll tell you again. You're not happy. It's not complicated. It's not. That's what's maddening about A Course in Miracles after studying and teaching it for over 43 years now, is that the simplicity of it is the challenge of teaching it. Because do you know the Course says that complexity is a smoke screen that hides the simplicity of everything. If I can make it complicated, then I have an excuse for not doing it. If it's real complicated and I got to figure it out, I can use it as an excuse for not doing it. So the Course says you have assigned a role to your mind. So good to see you all online. And what is the role that I have assigned to my mind? What is the role I have assigned to my mind? The role that I've assigned to my mind is that my mind has the assignment of coming up with everything that needs to change about you in order for me to be happy. So my mind is constantly telling me what you need to be doing differently in order for me to have peace. That's the role I've given my mind, to come up with every way I can think of to get you to serve me in some way and to do what I want you to do so I feel good. That's the role that I've assigned to my mind. And the Course says that's what he calls the ego's plan, which is the plan of the mind that is thinking incorrectly. The mind that is wrong is the mind that is all depressed because they think something outside themselves needs to be different, and then they'll feel good. And then they act miserable around people. According to the Course, people who act miserable around everybody, all they're doing is showing you how unhappy you're making them. Hear that again. A person that's all sad and miserable looking and not smiling at anybody, who's dissatisfied, because obviously if they were satisfied, they'd be more pleasant looking. What they're saying is, look at you, look at me, I'm suffering because of you. If you all did more to make me happy, I'd smile at you more. If you were more interesting, I'd smile at you more. If I was glad to be here and this outer situation was better, then I'd be smiling at you more. So unhappy people most of the time are just really just trying to put a guilt trip on everybody around them. Ooh. 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 What did I just say? People who are unhappy in most cases are trying to put a guilt trip on everybody around them. If you did a better job of being a mate, I'd certainly be more happy. And you see me smiling, and you might get a little bit more loving. So I'm going to make all of you all work really hard for my dysfunctional love. I'm making you work for the love that I don't even know how to really give. But you're going to work for it. Because it's your fault that I'm unhappy. If my mother and father had been different, Earl would be more successful today. He would be happier today. That's the wrong plan. That's what the Course in Miracles calls our plan. So sometimes, don't you think when people hear me say their plan, that they're thinking about their plan to be a teacher, or their plan to be a doctor, or their plan to be the owner of their own company? That's not the level of planning I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your personal plans or the things you think you need to do in order to make you happy. I'm saying that your plan is that you have to do those things in order to become happy. That's the wrong plan. You think those things determine whether or not you feel good. That's the wrong plan. So then the Course says God's plan, which we can say love's plan for salvation. What is salvation? Peace, joy, and happiness. It works. What? Yeah, the right plan works. So how can you tell when you're using the right plan? It works. See, this is too complicated. Okay, so what's the attitude you need to have to benefit from this information from the Course? It says it right here. This is from the Course. It says, remember only this. Remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. Got it? You need not believe what I say. You need not accept what I say from the Course. You need not even welcome what I say. What? You don't have to welcome what I say. Here's my favorite line. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the things I say, you may feel resistance. Some of the things that the Course says you will find hard to believe. You'll go, that's hard to believe. If you find yourself saying that, You don't forget, I told you you would. Okay? And I don't know if I believe that. Remember, I said you didn't have to. Because it may be a radical concept that I learned from the Course was, just because I don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true. Just because you don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true. Do you have a tendency to think that you're listening to me and whether or not you agree with me determines whether what I'm saying is true or not? Would you two be willing to admit that a part of your mind is working that way? That you're listening to me and you're going to say, well, what he just said was true over there because I agreed with that. But what he said over there is not true because I didn't agree with it. Can you see how arrogant that is? As if you're the arbiter of all truth. I'm the one that decides if all truth is true. That's why the Course keeps it simple. If you're seeing things correctly, the way Spirit wants you to see it, the way the truth wants you to see it, the way love wants you to see it, the way your Creator wants you to see it, you'll know it because you feel complete peace and you're not attacking anybody. If you're angry, full of grievances, feeling sad, and you're sick, then it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that if you don't have peace, there's something about the way you're looking at it that's not correct. Got it? I'll say it again. Whatever you're unhappy about, you don't have to be unhappy about it. There's always another way to look at everything that could make you feel better, even a tragedy. There's nothing that happens in the world that there's not another way to look at it that could give you more peace about it. For instance, my mother made her transition several years ago. My mother and I were really tight. How can I look at what looks like her death or her transition? That she didn't die. That she's an eternal being. That she's a spiritual being. That she's kicking it up. She just no longer has her communication device. This is a communication device. I know it's handsome, but no, you know it's hard for you to stay in those seats. Or it's a little too easy for you to stay in those seats, which means you're not seeing me correctly, right? But if I look at my mother as having an eternal soul and a spiritual being, rather than a physical body that's buried in the ground, dissolving, which one of those perceptions give me the most peace?
The first one.
The one that to focus on the idea that she has an eternal nature, right? So I know that's the correct way to look at it. The correct way to look at it is always going to be the way you look at it that gives you more peace without attack. That's always the correct way to look at it. If I look at it as if she's just a body, then I'm going to feel sad more in that the loss of my mother. Now, some people say, well, how do you know that there is an eternal life? I can't prove to you it is, but I know the way that I feel is coming from what I'm telling myself. That I do know. So I need to tell myself something that makes me feel more peace about her transition, or I could tell myself something that makes me feel sadder. See what I mean? You always have a choice about the way you see anything that could make you feel better. That's a very important idea to realize. So the Course says only God's plan for your happiness works simply by, I love this, simply because, I love it, says simply because by following the direction of the higher power, you're going to seek for your happiness where it actually is. If I look for this book on this table, then am I going to be successful?
Yes.
Because it's actually here. Okay. If I was to look for it in the kitchen right now, would I be successful? Yeah. Could I get sad because it wasn't in the kitchen? Could I hang out in the kitchen waiting for the book to show up?
Sure.
All right. But is that the wrong plan? Because I'm looking for my book where? Where it's not located. So if you're unhappy right now, it's because you're looking for your happiness where it is not located. You in that relationship and you're miserable, then you're looking for your happiness in a relationship where it's not located. You're on a job that you hate, you're looking for your happiness where it's not located. If you're looking for your body to look a certain way before you can feel good about yourself, you're looking for your happiness where it's not located. If you feel broke and you don't have enough money to pay your bills and you're worried about that, it means you're looking for your wealth and prosperity where it is not located. Doesn't mean you don't have wealth available to you. Doesn't mean you don't have beautiful relationships that could be available to you. It means where you are looking for it is actually the wrong place that you're looking for it, because my happiness is not in what's going on outside of me. It's neutral. What my happiness comes from is the way I'm seeing it. See, my happiness about how you respond in my class doesn't have anything to do with how you respond to me. The happiness that happens to me while I'm teaching comes from the joy I give myself from teaching. You follow that? Yeah. Or else I would be sad every time you all didn't respond to what I was saying the way I thought you should. Or if I didn't have a certain number of people show up every week. Or if I didn't receive a certain donation. That's the wrong plan. That's what the Course calls the ego plan. The wrong plan would be for me to make my happiness dependent on how you responded. I'm going to say this over and over again so that when you leave, hopefully you will realize that the way that you're feeling has nothing to do with what you think isn't happening out there. Now, if you haven't been really successful in making yourself happy, you're probably fighting depression right now, just by hearing what I just said. If you haven't been doing a good job of creating joy for yourself, the last thing you want to hear is that somebody is telling you you're responsible for it. That's why you're looking for somebody else. They're supposed to give you the happiness that you haven't been able to give yourself. They're supposed to give you the validation that you haven't been giving yourself. So you get your value out of the way your partner treats you, because that's the person who's supposed to be hiding from you how you feel about yourself. I say it again. If I don't really love me the way I should, and I don't acknowledge me the way I should, and I don't have confidence in myself the way that I should, then I'm going to look for a person to be in a relationship with who's going to give me that validation and give me that value, because I want them to help me hide how I feel about myself from myself. You are making me feel really desired. I don't really think I am desirable, but you're hiding that idea that I have about myself. That's why I'm attracted to you. You're the next person that's supposed to hide how I feel about myself from me. And hopefully go to a movie too. Okay? And so what happens if you're an insecure person, right? And you form a relationship with somebody that's supposed to hide how you feel about yourself, and then you go out with them and they look at somebody else and you feel jealous. Well, now I'm mad at you because you're making me aware I'm still insecure. And you were supposed to hide my insecurity from me. But now since I got with you, I'm even more aware how jealous and insecure I am. So now I feel disillusioned. And I want to break up with you because you failed to hide. Help me hide how I feel about myself from myself. What y'all think of that? Is that true? Is that too true? Is that like this ridiculously true, right? Okay. That's why you get disillusioned in the relationship. You got in a relationship because you thought it was going to make you feel better, and now you're more miserable than you were when you were single. Or you want to use the true plan, the God's plan, and realize that your happiness and your value is within yourself, and you feel good about yourself whether you have a relationship or not. So then you join with somebody else just as whole and complete as you are, and then you all just appreciate yourselves together. And you have a good doggone time because your happiness is not dependent on them. it's generated from you. Your happiness is coming from you. So you become the ideal relationship for that person that they could ever have, because you're not so afraid and insecure that you're always trying to get them to be a certain kind of way in order to make you feel good, which makes you a drag to be in a relationship with. And they're not trying to do the same thing to you. So you enjoy being with them more because you can be yourself when you're around them. So your relationship just continues to grow in love and joy and fun. I'm so glad that thrilled you all to know. Okay. Because you might be mad at somebody right now because you wish they were doing something differently. You don't call me enough. When was the last time you told me how cute I was? See, that's what's making me happy, is if you do that. So the Course is saying, if you follow the right plan, the right direction, follow along with me if you got the book. He says, you seek for salvation, which means you seek for your happiness where it is. I'm seeking for the book on the table. I'm going to get the book, right? Then he goes, if you are to succeed, what does it take for you to succeed as God promises? He says, well, in order for you to succeed in having the happiness and the peace that you want, it says you must be willing to seek where you're being directed to seek only. If I tell you the book is on the table in the kitchen and you go upstairs, you're not seeking the book where I told you the book was. You have to go exactly where the book is and nowhere else. See, but the Course says we don't do that. We look for what we want in a lot of different people in a lot of different places and think they're the ones that's supposed to give it to us before we be happy. That's like you going all over this church looking for the book other than on the table in the kitchen where I told you was located. So I'll say it again. If you're unhappy right now, you're looking for your happiness where it's not really located. And remember, how does the Course in Miracles define anything that's real? The Course in Miracles says anything that's real is something that's permanent. It's not temporary. He says temporary happiness is just a special form of fear that you like because you think you could lose it. So now I'm in this relationship and I feel so happy, but I'm scared it might end. Scared something might go wrong. I'm scared they might fall in love with somebody else. You follow what I'm saying? It's not really love that you're feeling with that person. It's a form of fear that you're feeling that you like. And you call that being attracted to the person across the room, and then you clutch your heart, and you have that feeling, that you get when you see them, and then you realize later on, that's the same feeling I get when a dog chasing me. It's just a special form of fear. That's what it is. That's another thing. How can you tell when you hear something that I say correctly? You laugh. That's what happens when you're hearing something correctly. You go, oh, that was good to hear. Right? And I've had that dog chase me down the street feeling a lot of times. And sometimes I've been actually chased down the street like I was a dog. You even heard women say that about me. They're like a dog. Ignore my barking. It's not true. Okay. So that means, of course, says take me slow. Then that means if you're going to succeed, as the universe promises you will succeed, you must be willing to look for what you want where it actually is. Otherwise, if you want to look for your happiness where you're being told it is, he says, otherwise your purpose is divided. So how can you tell if your purpose is divided? He says, well, the way you can tell if your purpose is divided is you will attempt to follow two plans for your happiness that are diametrically opposite in every way. So how can you tell when you're following two plans? He says, well, the result's going to only bring, number one, what? Confusion. Number two, misery. Number three, failure. And number four, despair. So if whatever area of your life you feel confused in, does that mean whatever area of your life you feel miserable in, Does that mean whatever area of your life right now you're feeling a sense of failure and despair? What does it really mean? It means you're trying to follow two plans that are opposite. What are those two plans? One plan is everybody outside of me needs to change in order for me to be happy. And the other plan is the one I'm reading in the book that the Course is trying to give me. Those are two plans. I'm trying to do what the Course says or the truth says, and I'm also trying to do it the way I learned through the world, which is to make everybody else have to be different in order for me to be happy. See, my ideal mate is somebody I don't have to change for and that I don't have to compromise with. That's just the opposite of what the world taught me. Because if you are always trying to change me, then you're just a partner who's always telling me something's wrong with me. That's all you're doing. If you're always insisting that I do or say everything differently, you're just telling me I'm not okay. You're telling me I'm not okay. I need to be different, which means you're holding a grievance against me. So I don't want to be with somebody who the way that I am is something they feel like they need to change all the time in order to be happy. But sometimes people do that with each other, and they call that compromising. But then you just getting a little bit of what you want, and you just being a little bit of who you are. So you're just going to be a resentment up over the years, and you'll start hiding from each other. Because I can't be myself around you, then I'm going to be myself when I'm not. And now you're wondering why I don't ask you to go out. Because I want to have some fun. You're no fun. It's no fun being with somebody that's always complaining about you and saying what you need to be different and how you need to be different in order for them. They made you their project. And their project is to get you to be a certain way for them to feel okay with you. No conscious being allows themselves to enter into a relationship with a person like that. Because if you expect me to change, I'm going to expect you to change. So there's going to be two of us trying to change each other. So we won't be having a good time. We'll be too busy working on each other. So how can we have a good time playing when all we're doing is working on each other? Everybody relate to what I'm saying? Am I saying anything that's losing anybody? Okay. Now, if you really feel a need to change somebody, and if you're trying to do it right now, you're probably having a hard time staying conscious and hearing anything I'm saying. Because the more you're doing the things that are wrong, the less you'll be able to hear it. Because you have to admit you're not doing it right. And most people would rather be right than happy. Most people would rather be right. If you gave them a choice, they want to be right about what they think about you. You ever had a person tell you what you were thinking and what you were feeling? They go, I know what you're thinking, and I know exactly how you feel. I know you just told me, but that's not how you feel. I know how you feel. Wait a minute now, you know how I feel better than I do? But you're just trying to convince yourself you know what's going on by thinking your judgment must be correct. Because that's just you trying to convince yourself you know what's going on. That's why we judge each other. It's because I'm trying to show you that I know what's going on by my judgment of you. And I got to believe it, or I think I can't listen to myself and trust my own perceptions. I'll say it again. If I'm an adult, I think that means I need to be able to judge and interpret everything that's going on around me accurately. So I'm going to want to believe my judgments more than what you're telling me, because I'm trying to convince myself I know what's going on. And that's how we make mistakes. You don't know enough about me and my life to really know who I am and how I am. You couldn't possibly know that from tuning in to me for 1 hour on a Sunday occasionally. You couldn't possibly know who Earl Purdy is. So anything you think about Earl Purdy is probably not true, because you don't have the whole picture. And the same thing would be true as far as my judgments about you. I only know the face you show me when you're in the class, and that's a mask, just to hide how you really are. Because you don't show that to anybody except the people you feel the most intimate and you feel safe with. So I don't believe nothing about what y'all showing me. I know you nicer. But as an adult, I want to feel like I can judge you all. So I think I know what's going on. Does that make sense? Okay. Then it says, Otherwise, your purpose is divided, which means you're attempting to follow two plans that are what? Opposed. The result is what? Confusion, misery, failure, and despair. And then what's the next question? Who knows what the next question is? How can you escape all this? How can you escape what? Following two plans, being confused, feeling miserable, feeling like a failure, and feeling despair. Every question you ask about the Course in Miracles, it's always on the page. The answer is always on the page in front of you. Okay? You don't have to figure out anything when you're studying the Course. As a matter of fact, as a teacher who's been teaching this for 40 years, I think the worst thing the students who are studying the Course do is try to give their interpretation of what it's saying. I think that's the most wrong thing. It's the most inaccurate thing a Course in Miracles student does, is to try to give themselves their interpretation of what they're reading based on what they've learned, which isn't the Course in Miracles. So you bring in your learning from other things, and then you're trying to use that to interpret what the Course in Miracles is saying, rather than I'm going to use the Course in Miracles to interpret what the Course in Miracles is saying, but I'd have to read it to do that. I'd have to give it some attention to do that. I'd have to actually do the workbook lessons that make it work. So the Course is saying this is the way you escape from the misery. It says, the idea for today is the answer. What is the idea for today?
Only God's plan for salvation will work.
Which is the same as saying?
Only God's plan for happiness will work.
That's right. Only the right plan will work. Only the plan that's the plan that can work will work. Okay? And guess what? If you really accepted that the book was in the kitchen, and I just told you where it was, there would not be any conflict, because you wouldn't be trying to choose between the kitchen and the living room. See, there's only conflict because you're trying to decide between two things. That's the only time you ever have conflict, is you haven't made a decision. All conflict and fear comes from not making an undivided decision. Did you know that? All fear and conflict comes from not making a decision. Conflict means you haven't made a decision. Show me the person that you're in conflict with, and that's a person you haven't made a decision about. Show me the job you're in conflict with, that's a job that you haven't made a decision about. Wherever you're feeling conflict, you haven't made up your mind. Wherever you're feeling conflict in your life right now, you haven't made up your mind. So if I know the book is in the kitchen, then I'm not in conflict anymore, because I've accepted the plan that will work. That's what the book is. So the Course in Miracles says, there is no possible alternative to the right plan for your happiness that's going to save you. There is no alternative to God's plan, the higher power's plan that will save you. That means the higher power's plan is the only plan that's certain in terms of how it's going to turn out. I told you the book was in the kitchen, and that's the only plan that's going to be certain in the way it turned out, because what? That's where the book is located. So I'm guaranteed to win because I'm looking where it's located. So are there areas in your life right now that you, based on this, that you absolutely know you're looking for your happiness the wrong way?
Yes.
Okay, would you be willing to admit that?
Yes.
Okay, that's the first step to alleviating that problem, is you have to tell the truth about it. You have to be willing to be right, be happy more than you want to be right. See, I want to be happy more than I want to be right. If I really wanted the book, and that would make me happy, I don't have to be right in thinking that it's upstairs in the library. See, but if I'm going, oh, I want this book to be in the library no matter what. I insist on it being in the library no matter what. Am I going to be upset and disappointed and in conflict? Doggone right, because I'm looking for the book where it's not located. So that's over. And remember that anybody you're in a relationship with, now this is deep. You want to hear something deep?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody that you're in a relationship with, every feeling that you're having, none of those feelings are coming from that person. All the feelings you're having about me right now are not coming from me. They're coming from you. You're the one that's generating the feeling that you have when you're around me, and then you'll tell yourself you felt me being attracted to you. but you were attracted to me. And then you projected the attraction as being something I'm feeling. You know that's true because you've been in relationships where you thought the relationship was one way and you found out the person felt another way altogether. We've all had that experience where you were absolutely convinced that person absolutely was into you and you found out later on they were not at all. But you said, but I felt them. I felt their energy. No, you felt your energy. And then you projected it onto them. So when you look back over your past and you remember a relationship that you were in, what is it you need to remember? That you are not remembering how that person was reacting and felt about you. You are remembering how you were reacting and feeling about them. So when you look back on the past about an old boyfriend, girlfriend, mate, whatever, you don't really know how they were feeling about you. You just know how you were feeling about them. And that's what you're remembering every time you look back through your past thinking about somebody. You go, boy, I had the best time in the world at their 32nd birthday party. And they could have been, oh my God, I will never bring you to another birthday party for the rest of my life. But you would be like, oh, it was great. But yeah, I'm remembering how much I enjoyed being with you. So what does that mean? Well, that means you don't really know what nobody's really feeling about you. You really don't. Wow. Wow. So how do you find out? How do you find out how a person really feels about you? You don't attack them when they tell you. How do you do it? You don't attack them when they tell you. If you want somebody to be, I always hear in relationships all the time, I want you to be honest with me. Be honest with me. I can't be with somebody that's not honest with me. Okay, then you got to stop attacking the person for being honest with you. Or else they're going to stop being honest with you. Because their peace is going to be more important to them than being honest with you. If you give me absolute hell every time I talk to you, I'm going to get to the point I'm not going to talk to you so I can have some peace. And so you're calling me hiding from you. Yeah, I'm hiding from you because of the way you act. I don't feel like going through that every time I talk to you. But you need to be honest. Well, then act like you got some sense. See, it's too simple. Everything that I've said is the key to having happy relationships today. You and they're not responsible for your happiness. If you want somebody to be honest with you, then they need to feel safe with you. You need to feel whole and complete within yourself so that you're not looking for them to validate you every minute, so you're not a hard time to be around all the time. And they will love being around you. And they'll think you're the greatest person they could ever be with, and you will never get bored with each other because you're not stopping each other from growing. When you're bored, it's because you all are restricting and limiting each other so much that there's nothing you can really do that's exciting anymore without feeling like the other person's going to be threatened for some reason. So you got to get bored. You can't do anything with them any different. Woo! Okay, let me go on further before somebody put out the ropes for the lynching. Okay. Now... Yeah, get the torch and everything. You know. So the Course in Miracles says God's plan is the only plan that's certain in its outcome. God's plan is the only plan that must succeed. Okay, got it? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it says, let's practice recognizing this certainty today. Let's practice recognizing that only the right plan is going to work. And then he says, let us rejoice that there's an answer to what seems to be a conflict with no resolution. The Course in Miracles says, take a minute to be glad that you might think you can't have the kind of joy and prosperity and abundance and love that you really want, but be glad to know that there is a resolution and there is a way for you to be happy and there is a way for you to have love and there is a way for you to have contentment. All things are possible to God. All things are possible to the universe. All things are possible to all that is. All things are possible to spirit. All things are possible to love. All things are possible to God. All things are not possible to you, separate from God. All things are not possible to you. How do you know all things are not possible to you? Because you're not happy. That's one thing that you think is impossible, or you would be. So obviously all things are possible to you, or you wouldn't be worried. But all things are possible to the Creator. So the Course in Miracles says, well, what do? He says, the reason why all things must be possible, and the reason that you're going to have happiness one day, because God's plan never fails. A plan that comes from God is no such thing as your Creator wanting you to have a relationship and then going saying, you know what, Earl, I really tried to hook you up. I'm God, but I couldn't even get nobody for you. That's too special, y'all. That's too freaking special. Out of 8 billion people on the planet, nobody could be right for you. You too doggone special. You know, and then you've given it up to the higher power and still's not happening. You know, so the Course in Miracles says you begin the 2 practice periods by thinking about the idea. What is the idea again, gang? That's right. Only God's plan for happiness will work. Only the right hand for happiness will work. How many parts are there to that? 2 parts. The 2 parts. And each part contributes to the whole. What does that mean? It's so simple. Here are the 2 parts. God's plan will work. Yours won't. Those are the 2 parts. Okay? Love works, fear doesn't. Innocence works, guilt doesn't. You got it? Okay. Then the Course says, don't allow yourself to become depressed and angry at the second part. See, I got my plan. I think if I hook up with you, it's going to really make me happy. You're not interested in me. And this book just told me, well, guess what? That's not God's plan. God's plan isn't that that person should be the one that makes you happy. So therefore, you don't like that because you've decided that that should be the person. So now you feel depressed and angry because you've been told that your plan isn't going to work. He says, but if only God's plan works, then that eliminates yours unless it's in alignment with it. So that which loves you has the plan that you're going to receive what you want in a loving way. And so that's the only plan that's going to work. It's the plan that makes you happy. And every other plan isn't going to work. So how can you tell when you're with the wrong person? You're not seeing them correctly and you don't have any joy and peace and happiness with them. What's the wrong plan? You're going to try to come up with how you can change them to make them be the way that you want them to be. That's the wrong plan. So don't allow yourself to become depressed and angry at the second part. It's inherent in the first part. And in the first part, what is the first part? Only God's plan for my happiness will work. That's your full release from what? All your insane attempts and mad proposals to free yourself. I'll stop using my way, which is looking upstairs for the book in the kitchen, when I really get that the only plan that's going to work is the one that told me the book is on the table in the living room. So the Course is saying the same thing, that you want to get rid of your mad proposals to free yourself by trying to think that your happiness is going to come from manipulating, dominating, trying to make other people and things be the way that you want them to be in order for you to be happy. Because God's plan, which is the right plan, will succeed. And how can you tell when you're doing the right plan? Where does it lead? Where does the right plan lead? To 2 things. Those following me. What does the right plan lead to? Release and joy, which is happiness. So how can I tell when I'm following the right plan? I'm feeling more joy, I'm feeling released, and I'm feeling more happiness. How can I tell when I'm moving in the wrong direction? I'm feeling misery and a sense of failure and despair. Now, what do you need to do with what I just said? What did it say in the next sentence? Remembering this. Didn't say analyzing this, did it? It says, remembering this, let us devote the remainder of the extended practice periods to doing what? We're going to ask Spirit to reveal Spirit's plan to us. We're going to ask love to reveal His plan to us. We're going to ask God to reveal God's plan to us. So how do we do that? He says, well, ask Spirit, God, what? Very specifically. How? Very specifically. Notice that we're getting total instructions. It's nothing that I've said today that I didn't also give from the Course in Miracles exactly how to do it. So I know you're on the edge of your seat. I don't have no doubt about that. I know I couldn't, boy, you just raring to go. You're so excited because you're getting ready to know exactly what to do to escape from your conflict. Oh. Yeah, man. I can't wait for you to tell me, man. Come on, tell me, Earl. You ask God 4 questions. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? This is a plain way to put it. What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? And who do you want me to say it to? That's part of the plan. For you to ask for guidance, and then for you to go where the guidance tells you, and for you to say what your guidance is telling you to say, to who your guidance is telling you to say it to. So let me give you a real-time example of how the course works. Then he goes, give God full charge of the rest of the practice period. And how do you give God full charge of the practice period? I'm going to tell you how you let Spirit be in charge. He says by letting Spirit tell you what needs to be done by you. How do you put me in charge? You let me tell you what you need to do. That means I'm in charge. I'm telling you what to do. So when you say you're going to surrender to Spirit, are you saying you're going to do what you're told? Yeah. If I'm going to surrender to the higher power, I have to do what I'm told. What is it telling me to do? Well, it's telling me to ask, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? And who do you want me to say it to? That's what it's telling me to do. What do you have me do? It loops. What do you have me do? God, what do you want me to do? I want you to ask I want you to ask me what it is that I want you to do. That's what I want you to do. So what's God's plan? God's plan is for you to ask God. What is the plan? You learn how to tune into your inner self, to tune into your higher self, to start asking the loving part of you what to do instead of asking the fearful part of you what to do, and the jealous part of you what to do, and the insecure part of you what to do. Never ask the crazy you what to do. Okay, if your jealous self is telling you to go have it out with somebody, don't you dare. That's your crazy self telling you what to do. If you're full of fear, that's not whose guidance you want to follow, because the fearful part of you is the part of you that's not seeing anything clearly. That's why it's afraid. So if you are a conscious being, you know that when you're most upset is when you shut up your mouth and you don't say anything. But we do just the opposite because we use the opposite plan. It's when I'm most upset that I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. Right? I'm crazy as hell right now, but I'm going to tell you what's really going on. And the Course is saying your perception is completely distorted when you're upset and angry and afraid. You're not seeing anything correct, and you're probably going to say or do something that you know you're going to regret, and you're going to wish you had not said it and had not done it. And we've all had that experience of saying stuff in anger and upset and later on having to backtrack. Oh, I didn't really mean to hit you with that axe. Just overlook that, would you? But if you can go, I'm getting mad, let me breathe. I'm getting mad, let me breathe. I'm getting mad, let me breathe. Let me pause. I'm getting mad, let me take a breath. I'm getting mad, let me take a breath. I'm getting mad, let me go get in the car and drive away. Let me go to the park and walk around a little bit. Let me go get my course book. I need to be quiet right now because I am not feeling any. I think you need to change. That's why I'm so mad at you right now. So I'm in the middle of the wrong plan. So I need to be quiet and be asking Spirit, man, what do you want me to say to my child? What do you want me to say to my partner? What do you want me to do in this situation? Where do you want me to go? And they want me to go to hell. Where do you want me to go? That's what they just told me where I could go. I'm asking you where I should go. And then he says, let God tell you what needs to be done by you. Well, I just told you. I want you to tell yourself that you need to ask for my guidance. Then he says, God, now this line is really awesome, y'all. He says, God will answer in proportion to your willingness to hear God's voice. So you're not going to hear your guidance at any louder level than you're willing to listen to it. So you have to refuse not to hear. You have to go, I'm going to refuse not to hear. I am going to hear. And the very fact that you all are here today, the very fact that you're doing these exercises proves that you do have some willingness. Yay! How do we know that you have some willingness? You're sitting here listening to me. You're sitting here with the books in your lap, and he says, that's enough to establish your claim to God's answer. So Spirit is going to help you. Spirit is going to support you because you've already shown that you have some willingness because you're listening to this exercise that I'm giving you. So what do you do in the shorter practice periods? What do? You tell yourself God's plan and only God's plan is going to work. The only plan that's going to work is the right plan. The wrong plan is not going to work. The right plan is going to work. What's the wrong plan? Me trying to believe that everything needs to be different in order for me to be happy, that my happiness does not come from within me at any level. It's completely dependent on something outside of myself. So therefore, I got to realize God's plan is the only one that's going to work, and I need to be alert to any temptation. What is the temptation? The temptation is for me to hold grievances. The temptation is for me to leave here today, go out and meet somebody, and before I know it, I'm getting peeved because they're not saying or doing or acting the way that I want them to act right now. That's temptation. That's the grievance. The grievance is when you leave here today and you go, if the weather was warmer, I'd be happy. That's a grievance against the weather. If that person was different, I'd be happy. That's a grievance against that person. So you're going to have temptations the rest of the day and the rest of the week to go back into the old plan. And so the Course says, so this is what you should do whenever you're tempted to go back to the old plan of wanting everybody else to change in order for you to be happy. It says what? You respond to that temptation by saying, holding grievances is the opposite to God's plan for my happiness. Holding grievances, what's holding grievances? Me saying to myself, you need to be different in order for me to feel good. Whenever I go, you need to be different for me to feel good. That's holding a grievance against you. So I have to realize holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan, and only God's plan will work. So he says, every time you're tempted to go off on somebody or feel like they need to be speaking and acting differently in order for you to be happy, when you really learn this, you'll get to the point that you'll go, okay, holding this grievance is the opposite of the plan, and only the plan, the real plan, will work. And what's the real plan? First of all, for me to recognize my plan doesn't. That's the first part of the plan. The second part of the plan is for me to ask what to do, where to go, what to say, and to who to say it to. And then the other part of the plan is to tell myself only God's plan is going to work. The other plan that I'm going to come up with isn't going to work. And then to tell yourself holding grievances is the opposite to the plan, and only the right plan or God's plan. You can put it in your own words. Only the right plan will work. And then you try to remember to say it to yourself 6 or 7 times an hour. How many times? 6 or 7 times an hour. But if you were to say it every time you were getting ready to get upset, you say it more than 6 or 7 times an hour. 6 or 7 times an hour would be the least amount of time you would say it if you use it as a trigger. If I wish you all were different so I could be happy. And every time I say something like that to myself, and then I go, wait a minute. Holding grievances, wanting them to be different. That's opposite to the God's plan or the right plan. And only the right plan, which is God's plan, will work. And I need to tell myself that 6 or 7 times an hour, there could be no better way to spend 30 seconds or less. 30 seconds or less. I'm too busy. I don't have 30 seconds my entire day. I used to hear people say, I wasn't doing my Course in Miracles workbook lesson, but I didn't have time. Well, it was only 1 minute in the morning and 1 minute at night. I don't think nobody's that freaking busy. So why are you telling me you didn't have time enough to do your work? But people used to sit out there, well, I was just too busy yesterday. Nobody's that busy. Just like it takes 30 seconds to respond to the average text, and it'd be 2 days later. Right? Because they were too busy. Well, come on. You had 30 seconds even if you was on the toilet. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You got 30 seconds. You can do P-text. Okay. So, where there's a will, there's a way. If I really want to do it, I'm going to do it. If I really want to see somebody, I'm going to make time. If I don't really want to see somebody, anything can come up to interfere with me getting with them. You all know that. If somebody's really interested in you, they're going to make time for you. If you're really interested in them, you're going to make time for them. If you're not, then anything will stop you. When it's not something you really want, anything will stop you. When it's something you want, you don't let nothing stop you. And that's how you can tell what you really want. If you say you want something and the first obstacle that comes up, you stop, you didn't really want it. So stop fooling yourself and telling yourself you want something that you're not willing to do what it takes to get. There's no such thing as wanting something you're not really willing to do what it takes to get it. Or rather yet to allow it, to receive it. So remember, take 30 seconds to remember the source of your happiness, where it is, and to see the source of your happiness, where it is. And you recognizing that only God's plan will work. You're being directed what to do, and your plan, which is trying to manipulate anything and everybody outside of you in order for you to be happy, that plan isn't going to work in the long run because you can't control other people. That's why it's going to always fail. And that's also making your happiness dependent on something being different from the way that it is. How can I be happy if in every situation I'm in, I wish I was somewhere else? And with every person I'm with, I wish I was with somebody else. That's what you're saying when you go, I'm in this situation. If it was different, I'd be happy. I'm on this date. If it was different, I'd be happy. I'm in Denver, but if it was different, I'd be happy. Well, you're saying I can never be happy in any situation that I'm in. So that's why you ask for another way to look at it. Could you acknowledge yourself hearing this much? Come on. So I'm going to do a 1 or 2 minute recap in just a minute. We're going to do a little quick recap, take a couple of minutes, and then we can rush out and do the other plan. Okay? I want to thank you for sharing with me. I'm a full-time teacher of the course. I do it on a donation basis. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation online, you can use PayPal, Venmo, the Cash App. What's the other one? Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, thank you. Zelle. And all you need is my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I'm also available to be a mentor, a coach, and an advisor using the truth and the Course in Miracles to help you get past any block that you know you're ready to get past right now. It's amazing what we can do together on a one-on-one. So I'm available to support you to get past that situation, that circumstance, that relationship that you're dealing with right now. And I'm less than a Taylor Swift ticket. Okay? All right? And also, for those who are open and receptive to it, I'm also an astrologer and a numerologist, and I can give you an interpretation of your chart to also give you additional insight in how you can take advantage of this time. Spirit has a lot of ways that will try to reach you to give you the benefits and the happiness that you want. 1 o'clock on Sundays, Mountain Time, Facebook Live, Earl Purdy, Course in Miracles. If you want to come in person, it's at 1555 Race Street in Denver, Colorado, 80206. 1555 Race Street. So it's online, and I got such luscious, beautiful people in front of me that if y'all came, it'd be ridiculous. You'd just be going crazy with joy. Okay? They're all hot. Okay? All of them. Okay? Everyone in here. Okay? So just to be around the people in here would be a thrill. Let alone being around me. Okay? So it's available for those of you who want to have some in-person contact. Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. I do hardcore Course in Miracles, online only. Hardcore Course in Miracles. And I upload my classes to YouTube. So you can also watch hundreds and hundreds of classes that I've done on YouTube. I'm here to be helpful, regardless of your financial situation. It's available. There's another way to look at things. But I'm especially want to be helpful to people who are studying the Course in Miracles, and I can help save you some time with studying the Course in Miracles. I know the tricks that your ego is going to try to pull on you to keep you from doing this because it works, because you'll get the miracles that you're looking for. I've never seen anyone not get the miracles that they were looking for when they gave the Course in Miracles some attention and some study, which isn't the same as just listening. That helps. It's a support, but it is not the same as you giving it personal attention and personal study. I'm telling you, I could tell you stories that would blow your mind of things that I've seen happen to people that benefited them and blessed them and healed them with the principles of the Course in Miracles and using those principles. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, here we go. Take a breath, please. I bet y'all heard more than you think. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. Only God's plan will work. And other plans will not. What? Only love's plan will work. And other plans will not. What's the other plan? If this were different, I would be happy. If this were different, I would be happy. If this were different, I would be happy now. If you were different, I would be happy now. If you spoke or acted differently, I would be happy now. If something outside of me changed, I'd be happy now. Only God's plan for happiness will work. So what did you tell yourself when you're feeling tempted and you're getting ready to give your power away and you're getting ready to make yourself feel that somebody or something has to be different in order for you to be happy? What do you ask? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? What would you have me do? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Now see if you can actually remember that. I'll say it again. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Say what? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Holding grievances is the opposite to God's plan for salvation, which is my peace. And only God's plan will work. 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 And what is God's plan? God's plan is for me to ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? And I like to complete it by telling you that anything that Spirit would have you do is always going to be something that gives you more peace. Anything that the Holy Spirit, anywhere the Holy Spirit would have you go would be a place that would give you more peace. What Holy Spirit would have you say is always going to be something that gives more peace. And to whom would be the person that you were really in that moment feeling peace about communicating to. And that's how you can tell when you're still listening to the wrong voice. And like if you go, well, Spirit told me to go cuss them out. Well, see, that's not Spirit. Okay. Mighty companions, I love you. May the course be with you. You are blessings in my life. I would love to have you on my contact list, so if I'm not here for any reason or whatever, I can let you know. So make sure I got that information. Since it's pretty much the same people every week, then I can let you know if something comes up. So make sure you're on here, and please print so I'll be able to read it. And so I'm going to I always take about 10 minutes to give us a chance to talk and share. And if you have to leave right away, I understand that too. So let me say goodbye to my wonderful friends. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in and the wonderful comments that I've been receiving. So good. Inspires me. Love you.